Hi everybody, I'm Ryan, and today we're going to talk about Mono Red in Pioneer. This all-in aggressive red deck. We don't need the green splash, just straight up Mono Red. We're going to talk about card choices, the overall strategy of the deck, and how to play the deck. Let's jump into it. So this is the Pioneer Mono Red deck. The overall strategy of the deck is obvious. Defeat your opponent as fast as possible, and nearly every card in the deck attempts to contribute to that. So let's just go card by card and talk about the roles of each one of the cards. So we have a whole bunch of mountains, obviously, like casting spells and stuff. We're playing 2 Mutavaults. Mutavault is a little annoying because, you know, this is pretty red intensive, especially since we have so many red 1-drops. So Mutavault can be kind of tough. However, it being an additional creature that's really, really cheap to activate and attack with is awesome. Also, it being a mouse matters because we have some mouse synergies happening here with like Manifold Mouse and whatnot. We're playing a single Ramunap Ruins. Ramunap Ruins can add a colorless mana, or you can tap it and pay 1 life to add a red mana. You can pay 4 mana, tap it, and sacrifice a desert, so itself. Have it deal 2 damage to each opponent. You're not giving up too much playing 1 or 2 of these Ramunap Ruins. And sometimes they can just win you the game by giving you that last little extra bit of reach that you might need. We're playing 4 Rockface Village, which is our best land. This is a land that comes in untapped, that taps for a colorless. You can tap for a red to have it cast a creature spell, and you can pay a red and tap it to have target lizard, mouse, otter, or raccoon you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn. You activate it only as a sorcery. Now, the reason this card is super good is things getting haste and getting +1/+0. That's great. But the reason this card is good is because of Valiant. Valiant triggers is kind of like Heroic, except for it's with abilities as well. Valiant triggers whenever it becomes a target of a spell or ability you control, which means that every single turn, just by tapping Rockface Village and paying 1 mana, we can trigger the Valiant on Heartfire Hero and Emberheart Challenger, in addition to giving them +1/+0 and haste. You know, in Manifold Mouse, we can get +1/+0 and haste. It's just so powerful. We're playing 4 Burst Lightning. Burst Lightning is a shock. However, we can pay it for 5 mana and have it deal 4 damage instead to everything. This mostly gets things out of the way, but can often be that last bit of damage you need to win the game. We're playing 3 Grease Wrench Goblin. This is a 1 mana 2/1, so already aggressively costed. However, we can pay 3 mana and exhaust it to discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards. So this allows us to filter out cards that aren't necessarily very good in whatever situation that we're in later in the game. Plus, we put a +1/+1 counter on it, and so it kind of almost levels up. Allows us to discard extra lands, creatures we can't cast, etc., etc. We're playing 4 Heartfire Hero, one of the best cards in the deck. This is a 1 mana 1/1 mouse with Valiant. Whenever it becomes the target of a spell or ability you control for the first time each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And when it dies, it deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. So obviously the goal of Heartfire Hero is target it with something every single turn. So we have Rockface Village, we have pump spells like Monstrous Rage, we have Manifold Mouse, all in the deck to target Heartfire Hero to pump it up, because then if your opponent deals with it, you get to deal damage to the face, so it makes it really awkward to block as well. We're playing 4 Kimono Faces Kakazan. It's a 1 mana saga. Its first chapter deals 1 damage to each opponent and each planeswalker they control. Its second chapter is when you next cast a creature spell this turn, that creature enters with additional +1/+1 counter on it. And its third chapter is exile this saga, then return to the battlefield transformed under your control and transform to Etchings of Kimono. It's a 2/2 with haste. If a creature dealt damage this turn by a source you controlled would die, exile it instead, which actually is pretty relevant and something that's often missed in paper. Just a very aggressive card that rewards you for, again, being aggressive and playing a bunch of creatures. We're playing 4 Monstrous Rage, so 1 mana instant. Target creature you control gets +2/+0 till end of turn, and you create a monster roll token attached to it, which is an enchantment aura that gives +1/+1 and trample. This allows you to get through problematic blockers, and then also very relevantly triggering Valiant on Heartfire Hero and Emberheart Challenger. Also really disgusting on Screaming Nemesis, because if somebody blocks Screaming Nemesis and then you're able to like pump it up so that it doesn't die, it also tramples over and you get the Screaming Nemesis trigger. Is just disgusting. Playing 4 Emberheart Challenger. It's a 2 mana 2/2 with haste and prowess. It has Valiant, which means when it becomes a target of a spell or ability you control for the first time each turn, exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn, you may play that card. This is yet another way for us to cash in cards, cash in maybe mana just with Rockface Village or whatever to get that card advantage, to get those few extra cards we need to finish off our opponents and win the game, which is gravy because we would probably play the haste and prowess 2-mana 2/2 anyway. Again, relevantly, it's a mouse, so it can be targeted Rockface Village and Manifold Mouse, which we're going to talk about next. Manifold Mouse is a 2-mana 1/2 with Offspring 2, which means you can pay an additional 2 and have a 1/1 token copy of it enter as well. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target mouse you control gains your choice of Double Strike or Trample until end of turn, which means if you have Manifold Mouse and maybe even an Offspring, every single turn you can target Heartfire Hero and Triggerous Valiant and even give it Double Strike or Trample. Normally you're picking Double Strike. Every single turn you can target Heartfire Hero and get that additional card, and again, give it Double Strike, which is a really big deal. Every single turn. So Manifold Mouse combining with Heartfire Hero and Emberheart Challenger is simply disgusting. And remember, it's a mouse itself, so it can target itself too, which is pretty relevant alongside like Monstrous Rage and stuff. Playing 2 Bone Crusher Giant. Bone Crusher Giant is a 3-mana 4/3. Whenever it becomes target of a spell or ability, it deals 2 damage to that spell's controller, so it's just like really solid. However, its adventure side is Stomp, which is damage can't be prevented this turn. Stomp deals 2 damage to any target. Damage can't be prevented can be really relevant, but it gets things out of the way and it's a creature itself. We love it. Screaming Nemesis is a 3-mana 3/3 with haste. Whenever Screaming Nemesis is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any other target. If a player is dealt damage this way, they can't gain life for the rest of the game. We love our opponents not being able to gain life. That's one of the main ways that this deck is attacked now. Screaming Nemesis is incredibly difficult to block. Also, especially under the threat of like Monstrous Rage or things like that, it's just like super, super disgusting. We're playing 2 Witchstalker Frenzy. Witchstalker Frenzy is a 4-mana instant that deals 5 damage to target creature, but it costs 1 less to cast for each creature that attacked this turn, which means in this deck, it very often costs 1 and can get problematic blockers with big butts out of the way. And we're playing 4 Sunspine Links is a 4-mana 5/4. Players can't be in life, damage can't be prevented. And when Sunspine Links enters, it deals damage to each player equal to the number of non-basic lands that player controls, which just happens to be good against nearly every deck. Even the 2-color decks are only playing 3 or 4 basic lands, and they can't necessarily fetch them out because it is Pioneer. So this main deck is built to kill your opponent as fast as possible, get blockers out of the way, and play incredibly problematic creatures. As far as the sideboard goes, we're playing a Lithomanic Barrage. It is a 1-mana sorcery. Spell can't be countered. It deals 1 damage to target creature. A Planeswalker deals 5 damage instead if that target is white and or blue. Just good against white or blue creatures. We're playing 2 Red Cap Melee. This is a 1-mana instant. Deals 4 damage to target creature. A Planeswalker. If a non-red permanent is dealt damage this way, you sacrifice a land. We normally don't mind sacrificing a land. Often we have too many lands anyway. This gets rid of problematic creatures or planeswalkers, especially in the mirror match. Playing 4 Torch the Tower, the 1-mana instant. Torch Tower deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If this spell was bargained, instead it deals 3 damage to that permanent, and you scry 1. If a permanent dealt damage by Torch the Tower would die this turn, exile it instead. So this is very good against the mirror match, one, because it's removable, but also it exiles Heartfire Hero, so it doesn't deal damage to you. And also it's pretty good against Phoenix, really anything with small creatures. We're playing 4 Razorkin Needlehead, which is a 2-mana 2/2, has first strike during your turn. And whenever an opponent draws a card, Razorkin Needlehead deals 1 damage to them. Just a really solid card against decks that are looking to draw a lot of cards, like Phoenix pops into my head immediately. It seems pretty decent against red, black, etc., etc. We're playing 4 Urbrass Forge, a 3-mana artifact. To begin a combat on your turn, put an oil counter on Urbrass Forge, then create an X1 red Phyrexian horror creature token with trample and haste, where X is the number of oil counters on Urbrass Forge. Sacrifice that token at the beginning of the next end step. So it's a threat that gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger to the point that it can just take over the game. This is very good against decks that are good at answering our initial threat, and decks that are looking to go super, super long with us. We can play that long game with them while we attack them with the rest of our deck. But that is Mono Red Aggro in Pioneer. If you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check me out on social medias. Links are above me and in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.